The ability to catch fish is an invaluable skill in a survival situation, so as I've been researching and experimenting with historical equipment for my Highlander series, it got me thinking, what basic fishing equipment were available and could have been carried by a 17th century Highlander in order to improve their abilities to secure food while on the move? Well, in this video, inspired by a few clues left in the historical literature and a bit of guesswork, I'm going to try and make a 17th century pocket survival fishing kit, and in next week's video I'll then test it out on an overnight trip in the wild. So, stay tuned. Hi folks, Tom fandabidozi. So I thought I'd start with carving a very basic hand winder from a piece of holly, with the idea I can use it alone as a crude hand line if needed, or I can just use it to store the line when I'm on the move and attach it to a fishing pole fashioned from the wild. I then oiled it with flaxseed oil for water resistance. Now what about the line? Now for the main thicker part of the line I'm going to use hemp cord. Now hemp first appeared in Scotland around 1000 AD and its cultivation seemed to spread throughout the country after its introduction. Later it became less common but remained an important crop for fishing communities to use for fishing nets and ship rigging. And its cultivation has left its mark in some place names in Scotland, such as Hemp Hill in Ayrshire and Hemp Rigs in Caithness. After about 5 meters of hemp cord, I'm then using a few meters of strong linen thread for the leader. Now linen was probably introduced to the UK around 900 BC, and it seems to have been grown in small scale throughout Scotland for clothing and cord, becoming a major industry in Scotland in the later half of the 1700s. I waxed all of my line with beeswax for waterproofing. Now a more primitive survival solution for the line would be to use nettle fibre, so see my video on my primitive fishing kit for more info on how to make that. Now onto the hooks. So I was kindly sent a couple of hand-forged iron spadehead hooks with the linen leaders, one big and one small. Hooks like these were used throughout the world for centuries and could have easily been made by local smithies in the Highlands. Furthermore, the book Bert's Letters of Northern Scotland on page 67 mentions Highland children fishing for small salmon fry and trout using crooked pins for hooks. And the book The Highland Folkways on page 266 mentions hooks being attached to bait lines using horsehair snoods. I thought I'd combine these two clues so I can have some hooks to go after these smaller fish. So I bent some clothing pins into crude hooks, and I used some horsehair I found caught on a local farmer's barbed wire fence for the snoods, tying the hooks to the snoods with a series of half-hitch knots up the length of the shank. I then wrapped the finished hooks and leaders around some amadou made from horseshoe fungus. This has been used for centuries by fly fishermen to dry their fly hooks, and I thought it also provides a little bit of an emergency tinder source for fire lighting. I also made a few using linen thread snoods. To finish off the pocket fishing kit and to save some time, I decided to use the same floats and strike indicators I made and used for my primitive kit, so check out that video if you want to see how I made them. Finally, I wanted to see if I could fashion a simple fishing rod from natural materials, something that I could potentially cast short distances. So I found a long willow sapling and made a notch at the thicker end to attach my line. I then used fresh willow cuttings to bend crude eyes for the line to run through and attach these eyes to the rod with the bark of the same pieces of willow. So finally, there is my 17th Century Highlander pocket survival fishing kit. At the bottom, I've got a series of leaders. These ones are the crooked pin and horsehair, crooked pin and linen thread, and then the hook that was sent to me, slightly thicker pin hook, again with a linen thread leader, and those are wrapped around some amadou. Keeps them dry and also sort of the hooks sink in nicely into them. I have a couple of floats, or strike indicators you could call them. They're made from elder and saturated with beeswax, or sealed at the ends with beeswax. This one has a piece of willow going through the elder with a loop of nettle cordage lashed and held together with pine glue. I have a wee block of beeswax. This is so I can re-wax my thread to keep it waterproof. And this was part of George Washington's 18th century fishing kit, a little bit of beeswax. And then finally the hand winder, just a very crudely carved hand winder with some waxed hemp cord going into a thinner waxed linen cord. And all of this bundles up in some oilcloth I have here, making a neat little package that I can stick in my pocket, in my plaid, stick in my bedroll, stick in my backpack, and it's always there in case I need to fish for some food. So don't forget to tune in to next week's video where I'll test out the 17th century pocket survival fishing kit on an overnight trip in the wildlands of the Highlands. So thanks so much for watching. Huge thanks to my patrons. Please share any information you have on historical fishing in the comments below. Subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Cheers.